this afternoon, this glorious afternoon, James, where the planes still aren't really flying at the moment. With James. Hello, James.
At the moment, as I'm looking, there's not even a cloud in the sky. It's
go poof. The clouds. Yeah, we were just starting to talk, so I had to stick the recorder on because sometimes in the private chats you talk so much, you get on the hangout and everybody's because they've talked about it on the bit before, but just explaining that planes, you know, they're not got anything maybe in them now, but they still could be dangerous to us because they're covering up the sun.
Well, I think with this planetary alignments, you've got, was it Jupiter and Mars? I think they're actually in Taurus because the Western astrology out, and I'd go with the Levette channel on this. It sort of makes sense that take this middle route, and I think, like she says, I think there will be a natural awakening where people will see, because at the moment, no matter what you show them, a lot of them aren't seeing. So I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute, let's turn this round the other way. What if we can actually fade out, so we're basically invisible in this world and nothing can harm us then?
Is that your option? Is that your option?
Well, yeah, I think it feels to me everything is in the energy and the frequency. So if the frequency of the sun changes, that is going to affect how people are. I mean, there's some craziness
James,
going on.
we still don't know what we're in yet, though, do we? I mean, what are we living in? This whole thing. I mean, is it like a closed off dome thing? I mean, what are we, this bright light in an abyss of black?
Well, funny enough, I was sort of talking about this. I mean, I look at a tree, you look at a tree, we call it a tree, but I mean, who told us it was a tree? How do we know what it is?
Yeah, I know, because you learn it as a tree and it's green. But what's green? And also, like, what is it so bright here? And we look up and there's the blue sky. But if we go up and look down, there's no blue sky. What are we? What is this?
Well, I think it goes back to the big clues in the Bible. It's sort of like God created Adam, and then he says to Adam, "You name everything," and it is name everything. They're all things in this reality. I'm seeing this as like a playground. I mean, other people have said,
I don't want to see it as a playground. I don't like playing games.
well, it's all about growing and spiritual growth. Well, maybe we're not supposed to stay children. Maybe that's
what do you think of that thing? Do you remember a few months ago we did this thing that our skin is a bit like silicon, the silicon's in computers? Like, oh no, we're just Neo from the Matrix.
Well, there is so many similarities, I think, between if you look at well, any gadget, if you do the reset, it's like it's gone dead, but there's something happening inside and it comes back to life again. It sort of resets itself.
Well, they say we go on forever, and whatever it is, it must be our soul never dies, so the energy carries on.
Well, the physical body goes through a shutdown process after the heart stops. So it's sort of based on us with electrical frequencies and things anyway. I mean, I see trees as basically being antenna. They're picking up on spiritual frequencies of air, and
I mean, how can we live? You know, if we actually worked out what we're living in, we shouldn't be living here, because everything's electrical, including us. The sky, the trees, the land, us. We've got electric heartbeat, electric pulse in our brain and heart. Like, a lot of people don't even know that. Our heart isn't what they tell us it is. So it's just all what. And I do think that with all this, like, those briefings they've had on the news, that they must be telling us to switch off. Something like that. Because hospitals tell you, I've listened to many people, including Amy, you know Amy. Yeah. Amy, they told her to tell her dad to go. So there must be something in speech as well. I suppose you put it into the ether, don't you? I don't know.
Well,
Claudio's right about that. Whatever you put out goes into the ether, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's sound vibration. I think like if a doctor says to you, you've got cancer and you've got 6 months to live, and you accept that, you'll create that yourself.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because I have a lady down the road here who's got cancer in her hips, in her breast, in her bones. She's had no treatment except hormones, and she's nearly 80, and she's been going for a year. She doesn't want her breasts cut off. She doesn't want chemotherapy, and she's in no pain, thank goodness. That's the good thing.
This is the thing. Doctors don't get it right because they're only dealing with the physical.
Do you know what doctors remind me of at the moment, though, right now? I don't mean to be horrible, because there are some good doctors and there's some bad doctors, but you know, doctors to me, it's like we're in a big concentration camp, and now they're those people. Because I've just been looking up about thalidomide children.
Yeah.
You know, that was the 50s and 60s, so they've been experimenting on us for a long time.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
And we can't trust our history.
No, this is the thing with it. It's you sort of go round and round in circles with all this. With the you've got the level of if you take the bottom line as being people who are just, oh, I want it to go back to normal, I trust the government, and they're sort of the middle ground. Then you've got those that are emotionally in the fear of, oh, we're all going to die, and all on going down that realms. But then no matter what you look at, it all comes back to everything's a lie. So now where do we look? Well, it's got to be within.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that they do stop you wanting, though, isn't it? They do not want you connecting to yourself and realising who you are and what you are. Without that, you're just a walking zombie listening to the television and doing what they want.
The other thing,
and a lot of us, when you turn that telly off, your life changes.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you think about it, with what we're sort of shown about living off the land, free energy and things, and it's sort of there, but then you've got a system that's in place that sort of it's just out of reach, like a carrot on a stick.
Well, it depends which route you take, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. It's
one thing I think people don't realise is everybody thinks that they know everything because they see it on the television, but actually you're being not educated correctly, and actually you don't know very much at all, and you don't understand very much, because being on these hangouts over the years, I've learned so much stuff. It's quite incredible. Even like yesterday, when basically we need to be humans, not people, not Mr., not Indian, not trade person, not this, not corporation. And once you take one of those titles, you're in their system. And common law is the supreme law. And I just told you very quickly, I know I said this before we came on the hangout, but Claudio said last night, communism means common law. And the Russians are given common law. Now, we've been told that they're horrible, nasty people, and they're living through what we want. We want the common law because we're different. They treat us differently. We get different rights. Once you're a corporation or a Mr. or tradesperson or Indian or whatever you want to call them, person, you're something else.
Yeah, it's well, I'm sort of looking inward, and with nature, it's all about giving and receiving. So it implies like two-way traffic. Trees will take in carbon and turn it into oxygen. That's their food, and it gives us a type of food. So what if it's sort of 33, like with a 33 vertebrae, which is described as a Jacob's ladder to send the spiritual oil up to ascend? Well, what if it were...
You just said, isn't it? They made us believe 33, 66 is 999. You said we're full of all these things which add up to 33. So whoops.
Well, this is the thing. It's well, in my mind, I've solved it because I sort of pictured a sort of a shall we say a wedding, as sort of picture up.
Wedding is the welding.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a bad thing. They come together, they embrace, and inside, I don't feel like there's any conflict within myself now. It's just when you go outside and see other people, but I sort of tend to, well, I go to the supermarket or something, and I'm sort of Mr. Invisible anyway, and I'm not sort of really noticed, and it's like, well, that suits me.
What you want to be hidden now, James?
There's so many with that fear energy that I don't really want to pick up on it. I don't want to feel it. It's like if they want to live in that, that's up to them. But
oh, sorry, my coat fell off then. Because we're very emotional people. So I'm a very sensitive person myself. So I try not to take outside in as well because of that reason. I don't want all that negativity. My children are quite negative. Not all of them, but some of them are negative. And they follow they just will not divert from what they're being told.
No, I think it's a
family. My mum and dad are the same.
The problem is, I find you get this barrier. If you show them anything, it's dismissed. And a friend of mine has been put in an awkward position. She's got a long-standing friend of 32 years, who was aware of things about medicines and whatever. She just lost her husband. The outcome of this from a conversation was the son has just reacted and said, "Don't contact my mother again." And I said, "Well, hang on." I said, "She's lost her husband, and it's like if her son, if she finds out her son has done this, she's going to go mad." I said, "You've got to be very careful because she's lost her husband. She doesn't really want to then lose a friend or the relationship with the son as well. So we've got to be very careful how we do anything."
Because James, don't you? What does Corona mean?
Well, to me, it's a fizzy drink advertised by a polar bear in sunglasses from the 1970s.
You don't see it as the crown Shatner, and this is a spiritual waking up then.
Yes, I do. I think that's also what the way I see this is it's like a traveling fun fair, and this is like the grand finale, and it's like let's just give them every sideshow. And then I started looking at that saying, we're losing on the swings, losing on the roundabouts, and you've got the Ferris wheel, the fear is wheel, leading us on a merry-go-round. And you can feel fear by going on the ghost train and this insane world.
I think what's the most upsetting thing is that say there's an octopus with thousands of legs. They're at the top of it, at the head, and it doesn't matter what they could say. They could say black people, white people, this organisation, that, and they go out and they just give out lists of stuff which are just incorrect to everybody, and to incite people and all sorts of things like that. It's horrible.
Oh yeah. I choose to steer myself out of it and not put myself in that environment as best I can. The beauty of it is, I mean, we can blend in when we have to and be like the rest of them. Don't have to advertise that we don't agree with the way they think. And I really do feel that it's the magnetic frequency of the sun is changing, and that will bring, I think, this natural awakening, and people will see everything. Some of it's probably be a shock for, but I feel quite calm. But what has come out of this, and where I've some fabulous help, it's like, well, do I talk about truth-seeking, conspiracy theories? If this all then goes this way, and everybody does see, my role is redundant, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, what in this reality, what can I do? So I'm sort of thinking beekeeping now as a first step, not necessarily actually getting a hive, but just looking at the YouTube videos, looking at construction of beehives, and then it leads on to nectar. And then I thought, oh, well, that's an anagram of trance. But what if the trance is revealing something different? Because raw honey definitely.
And don't forget, they levitate. When you're eating their honey, you're eating something that levitates. We don't levitate. I mean, I looked at these; they're amazing. Once they get to this frequency, it's a bit like, I don't know how they do it exactly, but when they get to it, they just travel in this atmosphere, and they can go up to 50. I mean, I'm really glad a bee has never hit me, to be honest. At 50 miles an hour, they can go up to 50 miles an hour, and they can go miles.
They do hurt. I remember doing a paper round and sort of headbutting a bee. Yeah, they do hurt. But
I mean, they levitate, and then we eat their honey, so it must be quite good because we're getting essence from them, unless it's all now machine made, if you know what I mean. It's not natural honey. It's been done things to, because they don't want us to realise all these things, do they? Otherwise,
well, I think
they're teaching us at school that bees levitate and all that kind of stuff.
Well, this is where I think this is a chance to sort of start looking at learning skills, because everything has been centralized. So you're in a job and that is your only skill. Whereas if you look back,
and they've taken all the little places out, make the big places, which they control. We want to go back to the little places.
Yeah. So the way to do that is to sort of use the internet, use YouTube, and have a look into traditional crafts. Look at different ways of doing things. I love buying something with the idea of, right, what can I use that packaging for? Can I find another use for it? Is there a way I can buy it without the plastic? And just make these small changes.
I wish that we hadn't gone the plastic way. I don't know what they would have put in place, but I wish it had been a much more natural thing.
Well, it can.
I mean, plastic's horrible, isn't it? And all our food's in plastic.
It can be done. This is the thing. You get these little success stories from one country in the Far East has found a way of recycling rubbish and making a landscape garden out of it. And it's like, well, if that's successful, why isn't it happening everywhere? And it's almost like, well, we'll show it to you, but you can't have it. But I think we can create it. I really do. I feel we have that ability to create, and we can manifest and change this reality or help it on its way. We're definitely connected to it in one form or another.
Thing is, the whole system we're in is to segregate you. But once we realise we're a whole, it'll be much better for all of us, because we're all connected.
Yeah, it's avoiding these pitfalls of picking a side, and identifying with a label. It comes back to what you're saying, really, with the occupations. So
you mean if you've got to go into this tech side, which is all on computers, we need to be out in the nature. They've taken us straight to computers and that kind of stuff.
Well, not only
the biggest place of tech everywhere. So obviously a lot of people have computer jobs, basically.
Yeah, but then
everybody's sitting in front of screens again. Another kind of screen they're sitting in front of.
Well, it's not just that. It's okay, they're working in front of a screen, but can they sew a button back on their shirt if it comes off? Can they grow their own food? Can they do their own shoe repairs? Anything like that. Just the basics. All these skills that are being lost. But it's not too late to get them back.
One of the worst things they did was one of the best things that was ever made was a rice machine. And those things, once you hit the right frequency with whatever you've got, it will cure you. Now, they cost about £5,000 each. But you imagine if hospitals had those, they would have had them, and then obviously there's a layout, obviously, to buy them, but then they wouldn't have to buy anything else. They wouldn't need all the doctors, they wouldn't need all the medications. It's quite incredible, isn't it, that they've poo-pooed the rife machine. Although someone wrote to me yesterday and said that they've got one, because I mentioned it in another hangout. But those are the kind of things that should have happened. The hospital should be full of rife machines.
But it's don't forget it's all reversed.
That's naturally done. It's just done through waves.
We're in a world of reverse speech. So you've got an NHS trust which cannot be trusted. It's a business in sickness and healthy profits, not healthy people.
Yeah, because what it is we're in a society where everybody goes, oh, I've got a cold, I need to go to the doctor. Oh, give me an antibiotic day one. You know, cold is a cold, flu is flu. Yeah, you feel terrible for a few days, but get over it. Get your immune system working. You're just going through a cleanse, and then they give you medication to stop the cleanse. This is
it. If you get your body temperature up and you sweat the virus out, and it's gone. I've done it. I felt dreadful. I had a really bad, I suppose it was more a cold than flu, and a day similar to today, really hot, and I'd got 4 layers on and I was soaking wet inside, but by the end of the day it had gone, and then the next day fine again.
Yeah, most people are relying on going to the doctor, and I actually believe that even though they're going stay home, don't go to the hospital, they were still hoping that the hypochondriacs would go, and then they could have had thousands more people included in their cases.
Yeah.
So now they have to use every death instead because there wasn't enough people for their cases.
Well, I think they've upped the amount of testing to sort of manipulate figures, but the figures are actually showing there's less people dying.
Yeah, because they're not going to the hospitals.
No. There are people in the confusion and starting to question things. The system has given so many conflicting things. People are sort of now starting to puzzle about different aspects and thinking this ain't right. There's something not right about all of this. So the early signs are there. This is all good.
Yeah, once everybody wakes up and realizes that they're responsible for themselves, life changes rather a lot. And that only happens when you start to turn the television off.
Yeah.
While you're listening to the television, you are being controlled one way or another. It doesn't matter if it's on in the background. They're constantly telling you stuff. It goes into your subconscious, and that's what runs your life. It's your subconscious.
I think it's even down to the flicker effect of the light that comes out that screen. It's probably set at a frequency that affects the subconscious. Sorry? 700 and something hertz. It's 700 and something hertz. Puts you into like hypnotic. Puts you into a hypnotic state. So that's from.
I understand that because my last in-laws, they're lovely people, but all they can do is watch every goddamn program on the television, including the news, and they believe it.
Yeah, it's like junk food for the mind, basically. The trouble is, then it spills out. They have to then they have to release it.
Read it myself, and also you've got your own thoughts, not someone else's.
Yeah, it's a case of sort of maybe look at things, but don't just look at one viewpoint and everything, and that's all they're going to get from that. They're just getting one thing with the illusion of choice, same as everything else. The most honest one is the Federation of British Supermarkets, because it stands for FOBS. I've seen the leaflet, and
I did know. I was originally the boy's dad. He's a farmer, and he noticed that supermarkets changed everything. You know, probably in the 70s and 80s, they just changed everything. They were the ones that said, "We want meat with no fat on it, etc., etc." And they changed everything for the market. It was the supermarkets that did it.
Doesn't matter which supermarket you go into, you'll find that if Nescafe have changed the jar shape and now have got a gold plastic cap, then the supermarket owned versions at half the price, funny enough, are in the same size jars, same gold colour plastic cap. And it's like, let's just swap the labels around and give the illusion of choice. Same as politics, same as religions. It's all to get people to pick a side instead of staying true to themselves.
Or even working it out for themselves.
Yeah. Well, how many times have you said something to just let's pick an example, say like the earth is flat, and how many times have you ever had the reaction of, oh, that's interesting, how did you reach that conclusion? Or how often do you get, no, it isn't?
No, yeah, we're the black sheep, aren't we?
Well, I think that hypnotism, this system download thing. I had some fun with it the other day. This cloud bush, it's sort of shape grows and it looks like the shape of clouds. So on this particular day, you've got the lines in the sky, and I said, "So you want me to cut it like that, do you?" And you could see the sort of confusion looking up at the sky, and it's like,
hey, Jeff, can I ask you something? Just lately, I can't tell you if it's the software on our phones, but when I look at the cloud, when I look in the sky, quite often the clouds are in letters or they look like people or letters. You look up. I was telling Amy, I took a picture of these clouds and it looked like a word. And you're like, how can this be? It's like we've got words in the sky.
There's all sorts of funny shapes and things I've seen in the clouds as well. I even saw a sort of almost perfectly symmetrical grid pattern with this cloud, and I thought, well, that looks more like the top of a grill on an oven.
Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? I've seen it loads of times here. That's heart making clouds. Those rigid ribs of clouds. They're just like line upon line upon line upon line. That's half. The other day I put on about a rainbow, and in the unscrambled way, what I will do is slow it down and look at it. And every time it flashed and then the lightning came, there was a great big grid of lines up. I don't know what it was. To me, I think, well, the rainbow was a sort of peach coloured, so this is probably all heart.
Oh yeah. Well, it's also you've got the was it the mythology, the harpies that would lure ships to the rocks. All these words are deliberate. It's just all theatre to me. I mean, you think of what.
Is that why you've turned your back when you want to be a beekeeper?
Well, I'm thinking about. I'm thinking ahead of, well, what can I do? I don't want to go back into that debt slave
People
system.
like your talks, though, James, don't they? When you come on and give all your, your what is it? What number are you on now?
This series, it's 22, I think, was the last one.
Yeah, people do like what you're talking about, don't they?
Thank you.
So you're a bit more than a beekeeper. You're that and a beekeeper, then.
Well, I'm thinking about, well, if everything does go the way we want it to, and this control system collapses, and we do have freedom, then I need to think practical. And it's like, there's no point me talking about 9/11. I've got to think about what can I do.
So you're thinking a bit more of the future then.
Yeah, it's the changing the mindset. Is, I mean, I can go into a job and it's like, oh, I've got to go to work and I hate this job, or I can do something that I love, or it will spark some enthusiasm, because I've sort of ground to a halt, that part of me.
That's why Claudio wanted me to hang out about what humans were yesterday. We keep talking about things and going over and over, and it is a bit shocking to realise what they've done to us. But people like Claudio want to go to the future now and want to move on. And here's all the information. Now you can help yourself. They've lied to us. They've covered up the common law to put you in a corporation, which is their law.
Well,
so once the people start waking up, really, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm heading in that direction. I would look at you can find them as audiobooks online on YouTube, the Anastasia books. Then start looking at the spiritual, the going within, Neville Goddard, and then finding out. It's all about knowing ourselves and finding out.
I've got a couple of books. I've got Two Hearts Are Better Than One. I can't remember the name of the person. The other one is Healing the Shame That Binds You by John Bradshaw. Because they don't forget, they put you in shame. Anything to put you in shame. Because once you feel those feelings, you're going to be an addict to most things. Once you get rid of shame, which is something that you need to learn about yourself. Obviously, young people don't have it. It's as you get older. Because that's because people haven't sorted their lives out.
Yeah.
You need to know who you are as a person. And once you know who you are as a person, again, your life takes off. So turn the television off and get to know who you are as a person. It makes such a difference.
Yeah. It's also...
And unfortunately for a lot of us, we keep bumping into people who don't know who they are and they don't care. And they keep messing our lives up for us.
Yeah, it's do we react to that, and then what is our reaction going? What effect is that going to have on other people and then on ourselves? I mean, look at the news; it's all negative. And how do you feel after when you see a news story? It's always doom and gloom. It's always with a negative energy. But this whole thing is multi-faced. So as much as
you're almost
everything else,
supposed to fail before you even start, because you imagine a little child like my grandchild. I went round to see her a couple of weeks ago. I left because she just wouldn't come near me. She's 5.
Yeah.
And she was going, I can't come near you because of the virus. And I'm thinking, well, your parents have taught you that. My own son, I left and he said, oh, you're wrong and it's all you, it's your fault. But it wasn't, it was him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he can't take responsibility for himself. Why would he want his, he could say, look, at school, please be that you've got to keep the distance. But you and I know that it's not real, okay?
Yeah.
That little child at 5's been dominated with, that it's real when it's not.
There's also the other side to this, because if we're following this trial and things, we're actually talking about all the, like the 5G, and we're actually manifesting that.
We're God, we're manifesting.
We're co-creators.
So James, who's in the background with you? Who's that lady's voice?
That's me, it's Hannah.
Hannah.
We'll call her.
Hi, Hannah. Karen.
Hi.
You can join in if you want. James won't mind.
No, I'm just doing a repair on a jet wash, and I'm just looking online to see how to repair it. So, but yeah, we're co-creators basically. If there's nothing outside of creation that creation didn't create, so we're talking about God, create and source, whatever label you want to give it, because that's just a label. Then, and if that's in everything, that's in us. And I've been studying Neville Goddard for about 5 years. I've been a conspiracy theorist since 2000. Lost all my family, been down all the roads, done all the rabbit holes.
I know how that feels. Don't worry, big hugs.
I'm cool. I'm 20 years into it, but I followed the silver thread of truth through it all, and I stopped being a conspiracy theorist per se, because suddenly I realized if I'm God and I've got fear in my head and I'm thinking that they got to come and grab me out of my house. Well, if God is asleep in your skull, because Christ was crucified on Golgotha, well, Golgotha means skull. So you have your birth from water when you're born into the world from the womb. You have to have your birth from above. I'm not religious, I'm not a Christian or anything. I'm just looking at facts, because the Bible to me, because I'm a psychologist, looks like a psychology book. So whatever you think, you are going to manifest it. So I started practicing this. You could just, when you go to sleep at night or get up in the morning, we need lots of people now to visualize a new earth, but to actually live as though it is a new earth, because the universe, God inside you, have to adjust to whatever you're thinking. So if you think that I keep visualizing that I'm going to see in the mainstream headline newspapers and radio and TV that they got to come up and say, oh yeah, the COVID, we were wrong about that, we've now arrested these people. So I'm imagining, I'm using my power, my creative power, to imagine the outcome that I want. I'll give you an example. I've got a horses ran over and crushed my left leg, and every year it goes, it just disintegrates, but I won't have any operations on it. And I'm standing here with the largest aneurysm in my brain that anyone could have as well. So most people would be panicked. I have a vascular disease that I've actually cured by thought. That's just thought. So
there you go. That's what we've just been talking about. You know, they want us to turn ourselves off.
And you're putting fear out there like I was, and you're saying to people, oh, they've got to be doing this and doing that. You're then putting that into someone's imagination. They're going to create it through fear and worry. So I have to
say, yeah, Claudia, a person was telling me you've got to put positive thoughts out. And even if you want to say you don't like something, you say it's not good. So you've not used a horrible word.
Another thing is the difference between judgment and observation. So a judgment would be, oh, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, they shouldn't do that, you know, he shouldn't do that, you should do it like this, coulda, woulda, shouldas, you know. Where if you change your from a judgment to an observation, it's just, I would see someone do something and I would say something along the lines of, that's something I wouldn't do. I'm not saying what they should or shouldn't do, because that's freedom for all, is it not? But I'm choosing for myself, that is something I wouldn't do. But to keep your thoughts as pure as possible, after 20 years of doing every, you know, massive groups I've been involved with, I studied the Freeman route, but I realized that was a load of rubbish as well, because the actual legal name itself is as illegal to use a legal name. So they're in honor and you're in dishonor. because on your birth certificate that says Crown copyright. Well, you don't have permission to use it. And if you ring up the births and registers, which I've done multiple times, and lawyers and solicitors and copyright solicitors, and said, well, look, how could I use the name my parents give me? Because they gave it to the government. The government put it on a paper. They then copyright it. That's actually not mine to use. So that's hence why they can get you in courts. You can't have a bank account without a name. You can't do anything without a legal name. But they own that, and that's where they have joined us. So
yeah, this is what our hangout was last night, because the supreme law is common law. And what it is they call you a person, a corporation, Mr., an Indian. It doesn't matter what it is, a tradesperson. When you're putting any of those, you're in their system.
Yeah, but
we want to be
your birth name. You could say as Capitis Maximus Demetrius, that because it's all in capitals, that's irrelevant. That don't matter whether it's in capitals. The fact that you're using something that your parents gave to you, that you're unaware of, that they sold to the government for child maintenance, you no longer do not have permission to use your birth name, and you're using it illegally, period. Look up legal name fraud on the internet. You'll find a woman called Kate of Gaia, who I studied with for about 5 years. She doesn't do anything live anymore, but I went down all the Freeman stuff. But the real truth of the matter is we are manifesting it. So when we look at our fear and our TV programs and all our shit, and people tell us they realize the power of the mind is God. So those people that we don't like, or we call Illuminati or the ruling elite or whatever you want to call them, they put out something on the TV, people believe it, and then that's the people in their unconscious that then fear it. And if you have feelings involved with your thinking, you've got to manifest it, because God thinks that's what you want to experience. That's really as simple as that. But that is when I realized that, I just stopped all the conspiracy stuff, not because I didn't want to share it, but I shared it in a different way. But I also said, look, we can then, I'm trying.
Do you think sometimes, like me, you looked into so much stuff, sometimes you just got to stop, because it will always go on forever. You'll never have all the answers for everything. Once you've got quite a lot of the information, you can carry on then and do what you want to do.
It's like after 20 years of doing this, what you run out of things. There's nothing new. They're in a rabbit hole I ain't been down. I haven't seen one in the last 3 years. I can't find a new rabbit hole. Everybody's talking about the same stuff, and people are talking about it as though it's new and they just discovered it today. And yet I was discussing it 10 years ago. What it is that we're prolonging. We are God. That's the secret. Everyone is God. We have the power of God with a little faith we can expand. And when whatever we think and whatever we feel, we will manifest. So if you think, and oh, look what they're doing to us, they got to inject us, I'm got to fight to stop it. The minute you go into fight in defense like I used to for 20 years, so I've got to hold my hands up, I'm a part of that. But I didn't realize that I was actually adding to the manifestation. If we want to change the manifestation, we have to change our thoughts. Christ said, just the red words, because Jesus was just a person like me and you and everybody else. That's the Christ, the God within him that he found. And if we want to change this world, we have to change our thoughts. And he said, turn your eyes and ears away from the outside world. Your eyes are one way. They only look out. You're a projector. Your eyes are projector. And if you imagined a screen all the way around you, everything you think and feel will manifest on the screen of your life. You want to change the outside picture, you have to change the inside one. And that means learning how to control your thinking, what you're thinking, when you're thinking it, and whether that's a beneficial thought to your world or not. Because I'll have a thought like with my aneurysm, and I've always got shit in my life. People are always bringing shit, and I'm thinking, well, I'm manifesting that. How am I manifesting the shit in my, how have I manifested? Well, I've manifested my aneurysm because being a conspiracy theorist for 20 years, that get to you after a while, and all I want to do is die. So I've actually manifested my own death. So now what I've got to do, I've now got to manifest I don't have an aneurysm, which is what I'm working on now, on the hope that I can go and have another couple of scans, and they got to say to me, oh, look, that's gone. Like I did with I'm the first woman in the world to ever grow all her main arteries back. So I did that with visualization, and I just believed I could feel them growing. And when I went to the hospital, they said, that's impossible. You've got an incurable disease. Your main arteries don't grow. How comes you've grown them all back? I said, with thought and feelings, and you have to believe it. You have to turn away from this world. And I'm the first woman in the world to grow on a main arteries back. So this Neville Goddard stuff.
Congratulations then, Hannah.
Thank you, thank you. It's really, really quite empowering. So I would check it out, the Neville Goddard. And I'm trying to build a server, and if I can get lots of people that understand that have been conspiracy theories, because you've got to be able to see both sides of the coin, you know, and we've got to learn to stand on that middle of the three sides to a coin. We've got to learn to stand on that middle. And if we can use it on mind power, no different when people walk over hot coals or they'll drink arsenic or snake bites. They don't believe they're going to die, and they don't. Well, that's the same thing here. They could stick that 5G on. If you believe within your heart it's not going to affect you, that's not. And we need more people sharing this. If they stick an injection into you against your will, then you just, as long as you believe wholeheartedly, because there's nothing real, there's nothing outside of yourself that is not.
So basically, it's all our thoughts then.
Yeah, all our faults. That was a big one for me to swallow, I can tell you. Yeah, and to think that I've been at it for 20 years, sharing all, you know, what they're doing and what they're not doing, and black goo and chemtrails and food and hospitals and doctors and all the rest of it. That was really, and somebody thought, oh my God, they put it out there, I grabbed it, and then I shared it with hundreds of people, and I propagated that, I passed that around. See, Garden of Eden is in your brain. That's your mind. That's your Garden of Eden. Now, if you plant a seed like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart, I don't have enough money, you can manifest anything. And when my ankle gave out last year again, I decided to go to bed. I thought, I'm not spending 12 weeks in plaster again. And I relived my day where I didn't have the accident, just mentally, and I fell asleep in that state, reliving the day without the accident. I woke up the next morning, I didn't even have a bruise or a scar or any swelling. You're God. You don't realize who you are. You're God. But if we can get enough God people together who realize who can do this manifestation, we could change the world in a blink of an eye.
They do say things like, "What guys, obviously,
yeah,
they do what that we're creating." Because many people have said we're creating where we live.
Blaming everybody else. We're pointing the finger out. We're saying they're doing, the Illuminati don't us this, don't us that. We're doing it to us. Because even the Illuminati are God. There is no evil. Everything is God. What it is God put us, like having a porcupine. God is, there's nothing out in the universe that doesn't exist, that creation didn't create. Just imagine a big porcupine itself, like you're an individual aspect of God. So you have an individual trait, and behind that porcupine spine, you've got a little veil. Well, when that little veil come around, you realize you're God, and you can manifest whatever you want.
We're all God. We're all God. Thank you for. So we heard your voice there, Hannah.
Anyway, it's lovely chatting to you, but I'm now got to go and finish my jet washer. But yeah, you know, because I mean, I don't go on the internet much anymore. I don't talk to many people. I've met William, and that's nice having him here. But you know, I've moved. There's another level, you know, as you have these awakening periods, you go through shifts and level, and nothing's happening. Another piece of the puzzle come until you've got so many pieces of the puzzle, and then you put them together, and you'll just see this single thread of truth. You think you will manifest. So if you are filled with fears, if you want to see your children and your grandchild to change, what you should do is go to bed every night. If you do that when you fall asleep, that's in your hypnotic part of your brain, and you do it every morning in that sort of half-wake sleep. Before you know it, do it 4 or 5 nights on a trot. Next minute, you know, he'll be in your arms or she'll be in your arms, and it's the most amazing thing ever. You should.
Audio's been saying to me, I have to envisage things.
Yeah, you do.
Stop putting in. Don't put negative thoughts in there. Put positive thoughts in there.
Yeah, but just you have to feel it as well, as though it's already true. So that ain't just about positive thoughts. You have a visualization that you can touch. Say you know what, I don't know, say you had a gas bill coming and you didn't have the money. What you do is you go to bed and you visualize counting the money out as you fall asleep. Just count it out as you're falling asleep, morning and night. Keep doing it over and over. You will manifest it. You have to
I do remember, you know, a book I'd read. Basically,
but the secret.
I always say, I always have what I need. I
Yeah,
always have what I need.
You hold that belief. That's a good one to hold. So you already got that. But the things like The Secret and all that sort of stuff is all contrived, all manipulated. They don't tell you everything. You need Neville Goddard. There's Skin. I've got Brenever, Barant. There's so many people from the 20s, the 80s, the 1800s that were talking about this. And after doing 20 years of going round and round these, up and down these bloody rabbit holes, you know, absolutely put myself into terror and fear when I realised their technology, because I'm into science. I studied the earth, I studied sky, Nibiru, you name it. There ain't nothing I didn't study. Food, down at the quantum physics, science, math, vortex math, Tesla. If you're looking for a really good tool that would help, that is a bit like the Rife machine. You want to look at David Serrater with his wands. They're more or less Rife technology, but a lot more easier, and they're great for healing, just changing the frequency. But really, all you need to do is think it in your head and believe it as though it's already happened. But a lot of people, it's harder for the people that have been in the conspiracy movement, because we've got so much negative shit in our heads and in our hearts. We've sown so much to suddenly stop having all that in our head and move off thinking away from that is not an easy process. That's when you really have to go within and do the work. But it's like Christ says, empty your cup. Empty your cup means if everything you think you know, you learn, you think you know what this is and what, get rid of it all. You have to empty your cup. You have to be completely empty, and you have to plant the seed, like you put a seed in the dark. God was born, is in your skull, he's in the dark. As when you have a thought, you're planting it in the dark. And like all flowers and all seeds, they all sprout. Some take longer than others. But you have to do it in the dark. That's why he say go into your closet. That's not pray on your knees, pray to God, say, please help me. That ain't got to do anything. But if you visualize what it is you want as though you already have it, say you want the love of your life in your life, and you think, I'd love to have the love of my life. Visualize holding hands with someone. You can't see their face. You got a ring on your finger, and you can feel it with your imaginary body, it's like waking up within the dream and feeling the ring on your finger, seeing your hands. You've got to be in it. You can't visualize it from a distance. Slowly over time, the love of your life will enter your life, but the real love, the one that's most suited to you. Yeah, so read Neville. I would recommend to anyone who's been a conspiracy theorist for a long time. That's a completely different shift in a different direction, but you'll get how the pieces were put together. You'll see how they used all of us, especially us conspiracy theorists. They used us to do their propaganda for them, because we're the ones spreading it.
Mm.
Yeah.
The demon whisperers, they're whispering it with the media and making us into the demons.
Yeah, and we're actually manifesting it.
I'm guilty of this.
The
as
law
well.
and the promise. I'll send. I'm sub to your channel anyway. I think I am sub to your channel.
Oh, thank you.
You call me Hannah, the place to be. Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to some Neville stuff, or I'll give it to William.
Put it on this post if you want, because you're on it now.
But take a look. You got nothing else to lose and everything to gain. Cool. You know, and it's really positive, and I feel really excited now. I know, because the rest of the world could be in hell now, all being injected. But what do you say, Psalms 91? He will protect you as long as you keep your thoughts pure, and you're in your world. They'll bypass you. They'll bypass you. They won't see you. Your life will carry on. You could have heaven on earth for you, and it could be hell on earth for everyone else. Because that's dimensional, you see, and you're shifting in dimensional. That's all in the, everything's happening now in this one space and time. And so you could go to bed one night, where if you worked with Neville for a long time and those like him, and what you find is you wake up and the world's wonderful, and you don't know that the other people, the other hell's still there with everyone else still in it. But you just climbed out of it. But that's all inside of you. Everything is inside. But anyway, yeah, we'll have to have a chat one day, but nice chatting to you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. That was very interesting. Thank you very much for your input there.
Okay, I've got to work out my jet wash. Anyway, you take care. Lots of love.
Oh, thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, Hannah's amazing. I mean, she's given me the spiritual kick up the arse I needed. It's like, yeah, I need to find a direction. I've ground to a halt. And, well, proof of it is this phone straight away. I did this. I put this into practice. I visualized and I could feel the phone in my hand. I could feel the emotions of, yes, I've got a working phone. I can make YouTube videos in stereo for the first time. And within 6 days, I've got the phone from a position of I haven't got the funds for it. And it is a case of don't worry about how it comes. Just feel like it is now and it happens. And it's like, well, a phone in 6 days. Now what? What else can I do?
So we can all change the world.
Yeah, yeah. We can move mountains by thought. This is the thing. This is the thing they've always hidden from us. It's know thyself.
No, you turn the television on and all you get is death,
Yeah.
fear.
Well, know thyself because thine is the kingdom. We are that T and H together. If you think of the letter H, like say the capital letter H, it's exactly the same shape as when a cell splits into two. That link between those two vertical lines. But if you split that H in half, you've got a T with a very short bit and a very long bit, which is on its side. It's been twisted. So you can. I've said before that the T is Satan. But you can view it from both perspectives with this, because if we are manifesting the good and the bad, then we've got both inside us anyway. So this is why I did that sort of they've embraced, they shook hands, they've made up, and they're in peace in my universe inside me.
Do you think for this hangout, if I call this hangout reset, do it, it's you?
Yeah, yes, that is fantastic because. That, I mean, even the letter you get, whether it be the capital or the lowercase, you start from the left, you go down, and you come back up again, and you move to the right. Well, we are the right angles are actually the right angels. We're here. I think I really do feel that we are here to experience this, and we are to change the world and make it into what we want. Become the co-creators.
Well, it's very positive talk today. It was very nice of Hannah,
Well,
and
yeah,
very nice of you, James. We need to be more positive, don't we? We've got so much crap around us.
Well, I feel in myself, I feel so much better for it. Apparently, I've had like 3 or 4 comments saying I'm looking younger, so maybe, well, age reversing, anything's possible, isn't it? I want to live, and I want to keep living for hundreds of years if I can create something that I want to be in and that's beautiful. Why not? I want to stay here then.
It's a very beautiful place here. We can't create mountains. I know you can make artificial air, but we can't make air. We can't make mountains. We can't make earth. We can't make all these things. We're in this most magical place.
No, we can't make air, but we can enlist some help when we breathe out. We can give it to the trees. They can turn it back into oxygen for us. I mean, can you imagine if we were in this situation where you go out in the garden?
Because that's the thing that gets me. Because really, I really hope they don't ever use it. But they could use the air. Oh, the air is really bad for you. You know, the air.
Well,
I mean, Peter and Pete. You know who they are? They're like scientists, but they do experiments in their own home, and they're saying that the way that they've told us everything is wrong. But they're saying if you put a pot of ammonia in your house, it's going to have all these fumes. You're going to be fumed with it. But if you were outside and you took the lid off and that ammonia fumes go up, the air takes care of it.
Yeah.
Air takes care of so much stuff. Otherwise, we'd be dead, wouldn't we? Because we wouldn't be able to live here.
It's all purified and renewed. Everything in nature is renewed. I mean, even that black goo stuff. Maybe that's an unprocessed version of diesel. I mean, and then what's diesel? Dicel. I mean, it's even spelt that way. And those pumping machines in those oil fields always remind me of mosquitoes sucking the blood of Earth.
Where are they getting it all from? When it goes, are there going to be caverns? Is this why we keep getting potholes? Because they've taken the oil away. Well, it just collapses. I don't know.
It's not just oil, is it? I mean, how many abandoned mines are there that they've never filled them in, and they wonder why they get sinkholes everywhere? It's like Swiss cheese. Oh, I've got low battery on here. What we got? I've got 15% left.
Okay, well we're at 54 minutes. Are you thinking, do you want to finish off then, James?
Yeah. I think just go with what Hannah has said. I mean, I'm helping her. This is of great benefit. I'm learning from her. It's opened my eyes up to looking into new things that I'd never heard of, and it's wonderful. And this to me is like a joint manifestation. This is where two is better than one. It's like she needed help. I needed a focus. So my thought manifestation, her thought manifestation, as it were, has made it happen. So it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
And I think I'm seeing evidence of thought, the way I'm thinking, changing my mindset, and I feel better in myself. I really do.
That's really
This is
good, James.
This is what I recommend to everybody. Treat the things like looking at the history of whatever the history is as just an armchair interest. And I mean, there are clues in it. I'm not, and it's very good the people that look into these things, but it's a widening gulf between what we are, and it is like a golf course, and the rabbit holes are those holes the ball goes down. And sometimes you're flagged up with a flagpole. Yeah, and I see a lot of these things. We're being shown in such literal and obvious ways of what we can be and what we can have. You imagine going out in the garden and you can communicate with all of nature, and you've got a fruit bush saying, "Look, I've produced this fruit for you to eat." How wonderful would that be?
Depends which way you look at things, I suppose, doesn't it, James?
Yeah. So I'm going. I've made the choice in my mind. I'm gonna.
Well, maybe you've got back into the caring stage, because once you care about everything changes. When you don't care, it stays in that rut, doesn't it? When you start caring about things, everything changes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an empath myself, so I care about people and their feelings.
Yeah.
And I can feel them.
Yeah. That's why I found it difficult going out where there's large numbers of people, because you start feeling their energies, and some of them are in so much fear, and it's like, I don't want that. But I've got it down to a fine art, so it's not too much of a problem.
Yeah, you've got to find like-minded people as well, haven't you?
Well, let's look for the positives. Okay, I'm standing in a line waiting to go in the supermarket, but I'm standing in the sun, so I'm getting vitamin D, so I'm getting fed as well.
I quite resent doing that, because everybody's following it. And if you follow common law, they can't enforce any of these things. And they've got us under corporation and whatever you want to call it. So anyway.
Well,
so I quite resent it, because they want you to put the sanitizer on your hands, and that's not very good for you. And it's like, this process of going to the shop, it's just a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
You wait for the shop I go to, it's a small Tesco's, but I find that if I go to another Tesco's, I might have to wait a big long queue to go in. This one I might have to wait 10 minutes. But there's another queue for the post office, and then you hear the little ding, ding, ding.
Oh,
all right, it's your turn to go now. How they've done it, it's like we're at war.
Well, to be honest, I mean, post offices was always, even when like the main post office, it was always customer number 400, please. And there'd be like 8 counters, but only 4 in use, and the queue will be. So that's nothing new, really. It's just the way it's been told to us. And it looks more obvious now, but there's always been that queuing for a bus, queuing to get a taxi or whatever. You're queuing on a platform waiting to get on a train, but essentially it's just perspective on it. They've just emphasized it and made it into something fearful. But to me, it's just a big joke. All of it. It's like some of the stories. It's like that Kim Jong has blown up a building in North Korea that was used for a building with North and South Korea. It's like, so what? It's like, I might as well go down the bottom of the garden and blow the greenhouse up then. That's just stupid. And it's funny in a way. And it's like, well, people
so the point of this magnet is you've got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to rethink things.
Yeah, we've all got to do it for ourselves. We all have this ability. I mean, take the word nuclear. Look at what a young child does. They might do a painting, or they're not happy with it. Then they get a fresh bit of paper. It's a nuclear, and they create another picture. It's just the education system, and thereon that we're assaulted and bombarded with so much that is trickery. But it doesn't work on all of us. This is the thing in varying degrees.
What do you reckon with people like us, even like Hannah? We're all different. Like, no, I mean, we're the different ones. We've sort of woken up and see things differently. What do you reckon's happened there then? That so many are the little sheep, and there's a big bunch of us who've woken up, see through it.
It could be this magnetic frequency from the sun. It could be that they're just not good enough, and no matter what they've tried, there's always going to be someone who sees through them. And I think what they're actually projecting out is the truth. You had food shortages. It's because they're short. I mean, if they could do all these things like spray the skies and in whatever they're doing, wouldn't they be doing it all the time? They obviously haven't got enough to do it. They're relying on us being in fear of it and believing in it. And they are, I think, the demon whisperers. They're treating us as, seeing us as demons.
One thing we found out through a case, right? We wanted to find out some information, and Patricia bought the package.
Yeah.
And basically, we worked out that America, does not have a database of birth certificates.
Probably not.
So you'd think by 2020 there'd be a date of birth for birth certificate. Because what happens is we move around so much. So, say for instance you were born in Florida, your birth certificate would be over there, and now you live in California, or you live in London, and now you live in Scotland. But over in America, there's no database of birth certificates. So how can they enforce the rest of this stuff if they can't even make a database of birth certificates?
Well, they probably have in the Vatican. It's just soul trading, isn't it? Hence the term soul trader.
That's what I'm saying. We live, in one sense, on the negative side, we're living in some kind of concentration camp.
Yeah.
On the positive side, you take no notice of them and get on with your life.
In a way, I mean, if you think about the whole off-grid thing, it comes to the point where you've got to rip up that driving license, rip up that passport, disconnect, and actually just go your own route. And it's like, well, I've run out of this. Well, I've detached myself from that world. I can't go to the supermarket. I've got to come up with something else. I've got to do it for myself, and I can share the ideas with other people. I mean, we can learn so many skills, and you're going to be better at some and other people, and we can mutually help each other through all this.
I think that's the thing, is helping each other. You have to help yourself first, and then you can help others.
Definitely, because if there's conflict within yourself, how can you be? It comes back to
You're
that.
never going to believe the truth, are you? Or a truth if you don't know who you are.
Well, the answer's in spirit, which is aircraft. They tell you put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you try and save somebody else. They give us the answer right on that, and we're up in the air. We've ascended, as it were. That's basically what they're showing us with that. You put your life jacket on. You protect yourself.
James, we've been going for over an hour. You say you haven't got very much, and we'll say goodbye when I've pressed the button.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That cut out otherwise. But it's been lovely. Thank you, Karen.
Oh no, thank you, and thank you so much to Hannah as well for her input there.
Yeah. I'll pass on. She's sorting out this jet wash. It's the usual thing. You lend it out to somebody else. They don't look after it. Don't treat it with respect. And it's working when I used it, but no, they've broken it, but they won't admit it. But they happily use it and disrespect the other person, which is awful.
Oh, well, I hope it gets mended.
Yeah.
Well, for this hangout, which is going to be Reset, Do It, It's You.
Yeah.
James,
that's brilliant.
Hannah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, and a kiss for the chat room. Hopefully this resonates with you, and maybe it's made you think different things listening to this hangout. Anyway, thanks, James.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope it gives somebody out there a positive lift and changes their life in a good way.
Thank you, James.